Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Mate, we're doing very, very well. Now, as I promised, we're going to have a little look back at one of our favourites. A genre milestone. Arnie's finest hour, in my humble opinion. Some may say Terminator, some may say Total Recall, some may say Conan, some people may say Jingle All the Way. I don't know. The choice is up to you. But as far as I'm concerned, it's Predator. John McTiernan's 1987 absolute action, horror, sci-fi, adventure classic. Genuinely one of the most balls out, macho-laden, testosterone-filled explosions of sheer adrenaline. You should put that tagline on the movie, shouldn't you? Just put that. That's it. I'm sold. I'm in there. Day one. I'm seeing that. And I've discussed it a lot. But it's worth going back to these things and finding new little elements which you haven't quite discussed before. So we're going to look a little bit today at the music, the excellent music from Alan Silvestri. Some would say, oh yeah, well he used it in Back to the Future. Yeah, he did. And he used elements of it in The Abyss and other movies as well. So, but most film composers will do that. They'll regurgitate certain themes, motifs, elements, instrumentation, just ideas from one, but we carry forth into other movie soundtracks. As with plots of movies, nothing's original these days, nothing. But it's how you deal with it though that makes it unique and individual and original in its own terms. So, Predator. I say Arnie's finest hour because I love Arnie. I think Arnie, although everyone's going to go, it's very limited range, but for the roles that he takes, he's perfect for. Of course, he can do comedy. We know he's very funny. He sends himself up uproariously, which is brilliant to behold. And obviously, as a one-man army, there's not many that can go against him, apart from one, obviously. Sly Stallone. Exactly. Yeah. And another great... Stallone's got more range, beyond any shadow of a doubt. Stallone can do a full range of emotions, and yet he still plays the heroic, macho loner, to perfection. But Arnie in Predator, this is the best I've ever seen him, because not only does he look fantastic, not only are the action scenes totally geared towards his particular brand of huge Austrian oakness, take down an entire jungle, In Commando, he walks across the mountains carrying a tree over his shoulder, for God's sake. In this, he levels an entire jungle and then takes out an interstellar predator to boot. So, but in this movie, we see Arnie afraid. We see Arnie playing a character who is larger than life, who is a profound military, fantastic wunderkind. This guy is a brawny, muscle-bound mass of sheer military might, with a team who will follow him to the death, but they're also extremely well and capable of handling the job themselves. So, Arnie in the past, Conan, Commando, the Terminator, Arnie in The Running Man, Arnie in Total Recall, anything you happen to mention, action, adventure, thriller sort of movie, he's indomitable. He cannot be beaten. He's never afraid. He faces off against huge, vast swathes of bad guys with total calmness on his face and a bit of a smirk, because I can deal with this. And that's why we love him. And you do get that in Predator, but you also get to see Arnie looking afraid. And that makes a huge difference in a film of this sort of style. It makes it stand out from the crowd, because he's the big guy. We know him, we trust him, we know he can't lose. But even knowing that he can't lose, and doesn't lose, but it's only by sheer bloody luck and tenacity and resourcefulness that he does manage to survive at the end of this movie. But when we see a guy like him, who should be totally in control at all times and has been in every other movie adventure we've seen him on, he crumbles here. We see him afraid. We see him run for his life. We see him terrified. And that really brings home all the suspense and the tension and the mystery of who they're going against, the Predator. Now, I'm not going to talk about the Predator so much because, I've covered that a lot. But this particular facet of Major Dutch Schaefer and his General, we are rescue team, not assassins. No, they're fucking assassins. I've covered that a lot already. There is a video somewhere back on the channel where I discussed the believability and the credibility of how Arnie's team operates. And there's pros and cons, but you know, it is interesting to look at things from that kind of perspective. But Arnie himself, as this larger-than-life super warrior, you know, a small husky is about to make an entrance and start eating some scraps of food which we left there. It's the remains of some skinned Green Berets at the Fort Bragg. Jim Hopper. I can't believe Hopper walked into a trap. I don't believe he did, Major. There was shooting in all directions. You know, the mystery and suspense that are built up out of these early scenes. We don't get the Predator unveiled until the last, 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the movie. Finally, the mask comes off and we see something like that. A big Lovecraftian nightmare. And he's fantastic. He's well worth the wait. But the suspense built up out of all that, not knowing who the bad guy was. And you've got Anna, you know, the female gorilla that they capture. Not female gorilla, no, you know, female guerrilla fighter from the rebels in this glorious, gorgeous part of the country. And she says, like, you know, I don't know what it was. It changed colours, like the chameleon. And you've got Carl Weathers as Dylan, the snake in the grass, like, what? Are you telling me that Blaine and Hawkins were killed by a fucking lizard? There's 2 or 3 guys out there running around fucking lizard. You just don't get it, do you, Dylan? The interaction between all the cast and the characters is brilliant. It's acerbic, it's macho, it's laden with one-liners, it's punchy, and it's like the action. It's very staccato. It's gunfire. It's bum 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 bum, but it works. These are military men. There's no time in the jungle to be sitting there and having big, you know, philosophical discussions. You just thought about, you know, can we survive the next 5 minutes? Where are we going to hole up next? Who's on our tail? Who's out there? Where's so and so? And who's looking after the girl? You know, all that kind of stuff. But Arnie, again, as Dutch, you know, General, we are a rescue team, not assassins. They've been called in for this job because the General and Dylan know that these guys are going to go and fucking cause World War III. That's precisely why they're a rescue team. Subtlety, a rescue team, going in quick, extracting, you know, the abductees, the prisoners, you know, and getting out of there. Well, they fail big time. They rescue nothing in this. They don't rescue the guys who've been captured from the helicopter and all that the gunners have got caught. They arrive in time to see one of them get his head kicked in and then his brains blown out. Marvellous timing. And then, right, well, fuck this, fuck stealth, fuck strategy. We're just going in all guns blazing. And they blow this shit out of everything. And they capture the girl. And discover in the process that Dylan had dropped the 6 of them into a meat grinder because it's all a big setup, like, to stop an invasion. But anyway, Arnie in fear. That's what we want to talk about alongside some of Alan Silvestri's fabulous, fabulous music. Now, right from the word go, because Dylan's on board for this, you can see there's an edge to Arnie's approach to Dutch. I look after my team look after me, we work together. General, my team always works alone. But Dylan was part of the team a long time ago. Anyway, so Dylan's there. So it's already, I'm not sure about this. And you can see that in Arnie's performance. You can see straight away that even though he's calm, he's cool, he's collected, there's still a huge element of, like, you know, something's not right about this. And boy, is it not right. And then you discover Jim Hopper, you know. I know these men. Green Berets at the Fort Bragg. Well, where else would Green Berets be from? That's where they're fucking based. That's where they're trained. Fort Bragg. And they skinned them? Why would they skin them? Ain't no way for those soldiers to die. And it is a barbaric sight. So they're already rattled by that as well. And hang on, that crashed helicopter, these people were meant to come and rescue, looks more like a surveillance bird to me. This is CIA. This isn't just a military bird. You know, so they know, there's something else going on here. And they know, because you've got Big Billy, the Indian tracker that they've got there. Sonny Landham, oh my God, fucking formidable force that he is, or was, sadly deceased now. And he knows, and he's forever, that little medicine bag he's got around his neck, because he's Native American, and he's fingering that all the time, because he knows there's something out there, Major, and it ain't no man. And then, of course, you get Hawkins, Shane Black, who wrote the script. Sorry, no, he didn't write the script for this. Wrote Lethal Weapon, but he did write and direct The Predator many years later. No, we're not going to talk about that. We're not, because it shits on this, and he should have known better. And you can blame the studios and producers as much as you want, but it's still your baby, your brainchild. So I'm afraid, no, Shane Black. No, you went too far with this. But and he's Hawkins, and he's like the massive big Coke bottle glasses on him, and the world's worst pussy gags. Flogging a dead horse, you could say. And he gets offed, and they find bits of his body. Major, I think it's Hawkins. Where the hell is his body? I want Hawkins' body found. Move out, 10 meter spread, you know. This kind of stuff, like, and off they go. But already Arnie's rattled, and you can see progressively as the scenes move on how more rattled and more sort of unease he is with the whole situation. He's losing control of what's out there, but he can see that there's something different. Billy can see it, the rest of the team can see it. Dylan's completely in dismissal of all this, although I'll come back on to Dylan again in a bit, like, because these are all little interesting little facets of what makes the film work, why it ticks over so brilliantly, and builds up and up and up and up and up, and always delivers on its little sort of, each little crescendo is brilliant, and then it builds up again to another crescendo, and it just goes up and up and up. It's outstanding. But my favourite, or one of my two favourite moments, really would be when they find Blaine. Blaine's being killed, you know. Come on in, old painless is waiting. He's got the mini gun, mini pod as they call them. Fucking big Gatling gun from the side of the helicopter, like, and he's got that strapped to him. And well, doesn't even get a chance to fire it off. Gets his neck shot out, and then his chest is blown out. And Jesse the Body Ventura, genuine Vietnam veteran, along with Richard Chaves, who plays Poncho. Both of them, well, Jesse Ventura was a Navy SEAL. I think Richard Chaves, I said in the other video, but I'm trying to remember back now, I think he was a US Marine, I think so, Recon Marine. So the two of them saw active service in Vietnam. So they, on that team, they genuinely had, you know, the goods and the know-how to portray these characters. So anyway, Blaine's been taken out, and his best mate, Mac, comes in there, oh my god, picks up the minigun, sees the Predator cloaked, and the eyes, you know, flash at him, Major! And then of course all the team run in there, and in that celebrated sequence of absolute ballistic bedlam, which you just, part of me hates that scene, because you think, well, you're not going to do that. You're not going to expend all that amount of ammunition at something that you can't see. But if you've got some guy who's called you there from your team, and he is firing down at that direction, something is there. There's a dead body of one of your comrades there. Right, well, we're going to fire. I would trust him. There's something there without a doubt. But I would have thought they'd have crouched down a little bit more, you know, because there could be returning enemy fire and what have you. But then again, the amount of firepower they're putting down, if the enemy's there, then their heads are down anyway. So I love it, and I think, oh, it's stupid at the same time, and it goes on, realistically, it goes on for way too long. I know, I brought that word in, realistically. But there's a lot of the film which is because of the emotions and some of the tactics used are, and I love that, and I have discussed that at length. So again, try not to rake over some of the old stuff. But so, you know, the body's there, they've expended all the ammunition, Christ almighty, you know, like, well, you know, and like the minigun's still going around, and they've locked and loaded a couple of times, and Arnie's looking at, you know, at Mac, you know, and Mac finally lets go, and the cylinder spins to a halt. So to Richard Chaves, Poncho, and Billy, because like, you know, go and see what we got out there. And in that great moment, well, he says to Mac, you know, what happened? I saw it. What? Saw what? Those eyes. They were there. And like, Dutch is kind of like, the hell are you on about? But you can see he's getting creeped out. Even with Arnie's big fucking, absolutely carved out of fucking mahogany face. You know, it's just, you can see his eyes. And Arnie puts a lot into this. And it cements your feeling of suspense and fear and dread. And then Poncho comes back. Not a thing, not a fucking trace, no blood, no bodies. We hit nothing. Oh, that bit, folks, that scene, that moment there, I find electrifying. The camera's been low down, Arnie's walked across the crew, and then the camera sort of followed him, and Arnie just looks at him like, we hit nothing. After all those bullets we fired out there, we hit nothing. And he'd seen one of them there, and we hit nothing. And Arnie looks out into the jungle, and his face is just, his eyes really widen with just incredulity, which I think's great. And he stands up slowly. I want a defensive position atop that hill. Mind it with everything we got. All right. But let's play the music that Alan Silvestri did here. So Blaine's body's lying there now, with his chest all blown out, wounds all fused and cauterized. What the hell could have done this to a man? Why not? But in the jungle. So Silvestri does some wonderful action cues. Very bombastic, very top echelon military action movie music. But he does some great suspense work too. Just listen how it builds up here when Arnie realises, you know, all that we just did there hit nothing. So whatever's coming in and out of here and taking us out, it's got more stealth and more abilities than we have. Yeah, listen now, listen. That's where Arnie stands up. That rolling. Prepared piano, a lot of piano in this score, which people tend to forget about and dismiss. It's a prepared piano. So the strings have been set up in such a way that they reverberate even more than you would do normally. It's just so suspenseful. So obviously they mine that hilltop, and Mac's best friend's being killed. You know, same kind of moon, same kind of jungle, and he's reminiscing with next to the body of his best friend. Has a little swig of the whiskey and all that from a little hip flask, puts it in his body, zips up the poncho, and then Mac, you take first watch, you know, and then get some rest. And they've mined all the trees and everything around there, which they would do. But of course, we know the Predator can see all that sort of stuff, so he just comes in through the trees. But a wild boar trips one of the trip wires, Claymore goes off. Mac fights the wild boar, stamps it. Got you, motherfucker, stamps it. Oh, you know, giving it loads. Jesus Christ, you killed a pig. Do you think you can find something bigger? And then they find, where's the girl gone? Oh my God, the girl. They run back, but Anna hasn't left. Look at her. She's scared out of her wits, you know. So she's not running. So they know. Arnie, you can see throughout all of these sequences that Arnie still doesn't know what's out there. But he is like, right, whatever it is, I've got to look after these guys as well as myself. I've got to do the right thing now. But I don't know what's out there. I've not fought anything like this before. I don't know how it's doing it. And then in a great and also rather stupid sequence, all done for audience sort of benefit. You know, Major, you better come look at this. And you've got Billy standing there over the blood-drenched poncho that Blaine's body was wrapped in. And he's shining a torch down. It is nighttime, shining a torch down. And they all flick the torches on. You can quite clearly see that Blaine isn't there. But for the audience who maybe can't see in the murky camera work of John McTiernan's movie, he says, like, Blaine's body, it's gone. We can fucking see that. It's quite obvious. And then you get to be like, how did it get in here? Take Blaine's body without any of us seeing it or tripping any of the wires? And only afterwards are you going to learn this moving the trees. And there's another great sequence. So let's get on to this. And this is building the trap. This is Arnie running up a steep cliff in the Mexican jungles. And if you watch the film closely, you'll see that they're working on slopes like that a lot of the time. And Arnie in particular seems to struggle with those slopes, as you would do. And you can see in loads of sequences where he runs up a slope, he sort of gets 2 or 3 steps up the slope, and then it goes, because gravity's taken over, and he has to like pull back and then run up again. And there's a couple of moments where he could topple over. I mean, you watch, and you'll see him. If I was showing it now, I'd go, look here, look, right now. He's going to fall backwards. But in this moment, you know, no more games. What did he see? He says to Anna, she's tied up like the cords, gets the knife up, cuts the cords from her wrists. And Dylan's unhappy, you know, what, we're out of here in 5 minutes. You think the chopper's going to wait? You know, Dylan, we make a stand now, or there'll be nobody left to get to the chopper, you know. And this thing, he wants all of us. He wants to kill all of us and skin all of us. I've expanded the line a little bit there. But he asks her, and that's when she's saying, the other day, when the big man was killed, you must have wounded it. Its blood was on the leaves. Now, yeah, I want to go back, because I love that bit of music. Its blood was on the leaves. That blood, that's right. That fucking day glow blood. Bright, glowing, fucking neon, fucking, snotty, greeny, yellow. And what did Poncho say when he came back after surveying the exact path the Predator wounded ran through when Mac drew down a line and fired or capped off 200 rounds from the minigun? Full pack. They fired more than 200 rounds there, by the way. Just saying. But he managed it, not a thing, not a fucking trace. No blood, no bodies. We hit nothing. There was blood. There was blood all over the leaves because Anna found it. She wipes it and looks at it and smears it on her combat fatigues. So then she says, its blood was on the leaves. And then you get the classic line, which should be coming up in a minute. Well, the line won't come up unless I utter it, of course. He's having his argument with Dylan now. We make a stand now. But only left to go to the chopper. Come on. Again, Silvestri's lovely sort of surreal string work here. His blood was on the leaves. He must have wounded it. If it bleeds, we can kill it. There you go. And then he built that trap. And then what an intricate trap that is. They're pulling down the biggest fucking trees ever. And the amount of bungee cord that they've got. I don't know if you do carry a lot of bungee cord. I know I used to. Tons, because it comes in for 1,000,001 different uses. It's brilliant. But they're bringing down these trees. And, it's great. For steg heads and, gym bunnies, it's like, and they're like that. It's awesome. And his music here is fabulous. And of course, then you've got Dylan, who's like, you really think all this Boy Scout bullshit's gonna work? And Arnie's like, you can see all our tripwires. Maybe you can't see this. Instead of complaining, maybe you should help. And Dylan just goes. And then Carl Weathers takes his top off. And that ripped Apollo Creed body, he joins in. And then he's like, continuity error though. If you in the sequence slightly earlier, you've got Poncho up in the trees, hacking vines down, and Anna's catching him. If you look in the background, you can see that Carl Weathers has got his top off there as well. But you don't have these little things. It's genuinely suspenseful. Builds up again. These guys are being resourceful. They're trying their best. They're working out. Look, you can see these things. Well, maybe you can't see this. What I always find amusing is that if you were there, you'd be thinking, this, whatever it is, or whoever it is, it could be them. There could still be more than one of these things. But you're kind of like, aren't they there watching us do this right now? You know what I mean? You'd be forever. The hairs on the back of your neck would be risen. Everything would be a hyper alert. You probably wouldn't survive because you'd have a heart attack. You would have a stress fucking induced cardiac arrest because of the sheer panic that you're under 24/7, heightened to the unbelievable degrees of utter danger. And then of course you've got Anna saying, okay, in the hottest seasons this happens. She comes out with some Spanish, the Diablo, and you're like, what the hell is that? Like, it means the demon that makes trophies of man. Sometimes we find our men without their skin, and sometimes much, much worse. And like the camera sort of fades hair out and zooms in or clarifies Arnie's face in the back, and he turns to face it. But you've still got like Dylan going like, fucking kooky this. But coming back to Dylan, there are loads of little moments where even though he's being the brash, arrogant, pencil pushing swine working for the CIA, but he's got all his skills and he's fucking brick hard as well. But he doesn't believe all this. Or does he? Because there's loads of little moments when, again, Carl Weathers is great. You've got like, initially, Anna's saying like, the jungle just came alive and took him, meaning, what killed Hawkins, Shane Black, the first of their team to go. And because you've got Poncho translating for her because she's saying it in Mexican, Spanish. And Carl Weathers, Dylan's going like, bullshit, that's not what she said. What she said doesn't make any sense. And he's kind of looking around nervously. And every time you hear a little exchange like that, especially when Billy says like, Poncho says to him like, Billy, what's got you so spooked? I've never seen you afraid of no man. There's something out there waiting for us, and it ain't no man. And he just gets up and walks away to go and check the perimeter. And you can see like, Dylan looks at him. There's fear on Dylan's face. But then he realizes, shit, I can't show that. He's like looking at him. And he goes like, the man's losing it. He's losing his cool. It's all a bluff show. And I think that's wonderful. I think it's great that they can put subtlety like that into these characters, which are just one-note characters, but they still bring all this force of emotion and fear and tension. And they just smother little lines of dialogue in this and a little look in someone's eyes, and it works. You might not pick up on that when you're watching it the first time. You're just waiting for the action. Oh, I want some more action. But they're excited by this. But it's because of those little nuances that you feel affinity to these characters, and you're really, really invested in what's happening next. And then with each successive viewing, you will spot these things all the more and how it all does come together. And it really does. So you've got Arnie's entire team have been rattled. Poncho's shitting himself, without a doubt. Billy, the big tough bastard, who in reality, Sonny Landham, the oft-told story is that he had bodyguards on the set, not to protect Sonny Landham, but to protect everybody else from Sonny Landham, because he was such a wild renegade in more ways than one. And he was a bit of a loose cannon, but I love him. He's a terrifying character in many movies. Southern Comfort, 48 Hours, and he's wonderful. I do love him, and although he did terrify the hell out of me as well. And he's one of the good guys. I got you, motherfucker, I got you. Long Tom Sally, you got everything that Uncle Tom needs. I'm gonna get me some fun. Fantastic. Oh, and I've got a busy day ahead of me. I've already done one video today, and I'm doing this. Then I've got to get bedecked in all my war paint and go out and watch Scotland trash England in the Rugby Six Nations. Woohoo! And it's gonna happen. So a lot more of this will be sucked. I'll be having the boozer. So cool. Now, you've seen all these little elements of fear creeping into the team. But again, it's Arnie. Arnie genuinely extols a guy that's trying to keep it together, but he's getting increasingly unhinged by elements which he cannot control, which he's never seen happen before. This enemy, this foe, is way beyond anything he's ever encountered. Do you remember Afghanistan? I'm trying to forget it. Come on. But, come on, why'd you pass on Libya? No, it wasn't my style. You got no style, Dutch. Come on, you know that. Why'd you pass? Again, this whole thing about we are rescue team, not assassins. No, you ain't rescuing nobody. Not with that kind of firepower you're hauling round. So, where do we end up next? Where are we now? Well, we've had that trap's gone rat shit. Arnie's gone out because you've got Dylan sitting there like, it's not on here, waste of time. There's traps everywhere else. This is the only way in. This is the only way in now. And they've used like a nature hidden trap You can see the mechanics of their tripwires and the claymores, but maybe you can't see things like a big spring, a vine spring-loaded net with all the trees bent down. Now you imagine that area, to bring those trees down, that's the size of a football field, that, to bring those trees down, to cover that area so it steps in it and gets caught up in a big trap. I always wish that it's a bit more of a poncho here, because to escape from the trap, it fires its shoulder cannon, the Predator hits a tree branch, dislodging the part of the net that's been caught in, and that piece of log gets sprung down on the bungee cord and hits Poncho in the rib cage and sends him like 40 foot back. Maybe he's busted up pretty good, and they're trying to strap him all up. I can make it. No, you can't. And they have to carry him out of there. Dylan's gone after Mac. Mac's seen it, and it's made its escape. He's pursued that. Dylan goes after him because he realised, look, we both got debts to settle and all that, because, Dylan, this isn't your style, you just hang on to that chopper. So off Dylan goes to go and save some kind of face. He's had a bit of a grudge match with Mac so far anyway. And he does meet Mac, and of course Mac gets his head blown apart, and then Dylan gets his arm blown off. We won't talk about that. I've discussed all that in the past. Let's not go into it now. And then with its wrist mounted fucking super Yautja fucking blades, whoosh, it's hooked him and brought Dylan up like that. Oh, and you hear his scream, and they're on that big log going across the chasm, and that's where Billy says, fuck it, I'm gonna make me stand here. Gets this out, strips off all his fucking fatigues, makes the big blood groove down his chest, takes off his medicine bag and stands there waiting, come on now. And then we hear this scream, but look at Arnie's face again. Arnie and Anna are carrying Poncho across this thing, and they realise that, Billy's not coming. So Arnie's like, Billy! And look at Arnie's eyes. When Arnie's eyes widen, I don't know, there's a real sense of absolute, I know it doesn't sound like much. He isn't the great Oscar-winning fucking, Ralph Richardson, John Gielgud, Oliver Reed. There's not a particular amount of nuance and diversity to his facial sort of acting ability, but what there is really works. His jaw set up there like that, and his eyes narrow when he goes into combat mode. Yeah, you believe it, of course you do. But when his eyes widen, I totally believe that he's like in a heightened state of agitation and fear, and he's seeing one of his trusted comrades giving up. I'm going to make a stand here. It's not like Billy's not even saying like, I'm going to buy you guys time. Billy's got this thing with destiny and fate, and he knows he can't go any further. This is it. It's the end of the road for him. So he stands there like that, like, And I kind of wish that Arnie kept one of these for the final fight, but, it wasn't to be. But so off they go. They hear Billy scream in the background, like, and they turn around, and Poncho's got an MP5, and if you look, his hand's shaking. Now I know he's meant to be in pain, his ribs are all bust up and all that, like probably concussion and all sorts, but that gun's shaking like that, and then suddenly like Anna sees it's in the tree right there. She look up and it blows Poncho's head apart. He hits the deck. She picks up the gun. Arnie's like, no! You know what's coming, and no you do. And he boots the gun out of her hands and then turns around with his M203 and just strafes that tree. And then he gets a laser bolt, blows the M203 apart, hits him in the shoulder, knocks him back. What is it? What's coming next? Run! Go! Get to the chopper! And he runs off in a different direction. This is Dylan getting killed here. He runs off in a different direction to allow her a chance to get away. So he's given up. I'm going to sacrifice myself to lure this thing away. Because now he clearly knows this is not any normal foe. And when you see him running through the jungle, and in a great sequence, we're going to get to that now. That's Billy. So this is a Dies Irae here, the great Gregorian sort of chant, Dies Irae, which always signifies, in movies and movie soundtracks, destiny, death, foreboding. So let's go, moving on. Okay, yeah. No. Run, go, get to the chopper. And then he gets up and then he legs it opposite direction. Silvestri's music here is terrific. And hi, pizzicato. And you've got a big guy running. And the Predator, with its bizarre vision, the Predator, it can't fucking see. I know in Predator 2, it can cycle through different visual options. Listen to it. The piano again. And it cuts to like the thermal vision of the Predator seeing Arnie, his big massive back running. But Arnie looks terrified. Arnie is running for his life. How many times have you seen that in an Arnie movie where he's running away from something? Normally he's running towards it or just striding into it. He's running for his life, and I buy it. I totally buy. That guy is now shitting himself, good style. If you look at that sequence as well, he suddenly hits the mudslide and goes over. The camera goes over that bit, and you can see quite clearly what anyone travelling over that cliff edge is going to land on. Rocks, not water. Then we cut to the body, the stuntman coming over the cliff, and then hits the water. But in the actual over the cliff shot, there's nothing but rocks below there. Anyway, it looks great though. Oh shit! As you're sliding down this thing, like, I'm surprised there wasn't like a big sort of funfair ride, the Predator ride, where you would have you're going through jungle on a little sort of a little trolley going down this track like that. They'd be chucking mud and leeches at you and stuff like that. You'd have like a little triangular light shining at you. You'd be like, whoa! What a great idea! What a great idea that is! You heard it here, folks. It's down to me. And again, so Arnie, afraid. Come on now, what have we got? He goes over the waterfall in that great shot where he actually tumbles over the waterfall, and and you see him coming down, carrying a bottle of whiskey, like that, and the camera pulls away, and then sort of turns. So it looks like as he's coming down, he turns, his body moves sideways through the air. It doesn't. It's a tremendous. I'm not going to say that they intended it to happen because it looks unintentional. It looks like part of the camera work, and they thought, oh shit, looks really good that looks really good. Because it looks like he moves sideways through the air and then drops into the water. It's just the way the camera, the anamorphic lens, has pulled away and pivoted. That's all it is that's done it. And then of course he swims up into that gorgeous little lagoon, gets covered in the mud. Oh, like that, Jesus. And then you hear splash behind him. Look at Arnie's face, and it's like this. Again, Arnie's fucking terrified, and you believe it. This guy, this massive muscle-bound commando, is absolutely shitting bricks here. And he crawls up, gets into all the undergrowth and all that, and he's there. Looks for his knife. Fucking knife's not there. Like, oh no, he's looking for his sidearm. Sorry, and he's like that on the trees. But he's covered in all this clay, this horrible thick clay mud. And the Predator, can't see him. And I love the way that we see it sort of blue and black vision, because there's no heat there at all. It's all been obscured. But if you look, you can see the outline of Arnie there holding onto these upturned tree roots and vines. You can see his shape in black, but it doesn't register on the air. Predator's vision. And the Predator fucks off like and all that. And Arnie just goes like, you couldn't see me. Nobody can probably fucking hear you. He's saying it for our benefit, I know, but it always makes me laugh. This super fucking highly trained commando. You couldn't see me. In that voice. No, he's only over there. It'd be like, and I love the way that the shoulder cannon, whenever the Predator's head, especially in that scene, in that particular scene where it's looking for Arnie, and it sees that little, I was going to call it a womp rat then. Aren't they from Star Wars? Womp rats? Whatever that thing is, it's behind an overturned tree trunk, and he just sees it, and his triangular, targeting thing goes on it, and the cannon goes, and he boots it, and it's just like a little fucking, I don't know, a womp rat. Scurries away, Predator's like that. It looks up, and the cannon goes like that, looks around, looks that way. The cannon, although on that last bit, the cannon seems to judder, and obviously whoever's operating it, like it kind of slows down a little bit. But it's still a wonderful touch in a film which is festooned with wonderful touches. So then Arnie, like, I'm going to build my trap, I'm going to cover myself in all the clay and the mud and all that kind of shit. Like, then, after all he's been through in this movie and the terror and the fear that he's had, you can see that, right, I've now seen what this is. I don't know if that's a man in that costume or what, I don't know. But he's got that fucking cannon thing there. He can't see, we've worked out he can't see things of a natural origin. But if it's me, if it's human, he can spot it. He couldn't see me because of the mud all over me. Right, so I'll wear this. So now I've got no guns anymore, but I've still got a few grenades. And another little lovely touch I like about this is that he's got grenades, but he opens them up and he takes out the explosives and the powder inside them. And he wraps it up in great big fronds, leaf fronds like that. And he ties them into little packages, and he has one round his neck. Now, I don't know if you've noticed that, but what that does, that mimics the little medicine pouch that Billy has round his neck, like a little leather tied pouch full of all, like, probably mystical stones and bits of dust and things like from his ancestors. That's what they use, like, and beads and what have you, mystical spiritual items, totems around his neck. Now Arnie has one of those around his neck, and it does look like the pouch, the medicine pouch that Billy has. So I think it's a nice little sort of, recognition there. But I love the way Arnie has now right, okay, he builds his huge traps everywhere. He's got little spikes on the trees. He's got that huge fucking tree log thing, which is dragged up. He's made his leaf covered grenades. He's got bows and arrows and stuff, like, all made out of natural stuff. Fantastic. Sets the fire in an iconic location as well, like for his jungle battlefield. And he strides out, and he will give that, the warrior's call, the call to arms, this taunting battle cry. This is just so glorious with the flaming torch. Fucking awesome. So now you can believe in any other movie, any other Arnie film, there'd have been no character depth and build up to that moment. We buy this because he's been through so much. Now he knows what he's opposed to. This is the big battle cry. Well, obviously you're not going to hear it, it's just the music. But Silvestri again. I love the moon, the big full moon as well. And you've still got that lagoon there. And he throws it onto the bonfire so that the Predator knows how to find him and all that. And the Predator's just been sitting there. And I love them, even with the mask on. The mask is here somewhere. My young protege, Kentucky Fudge, is wearing the actual Yautja mask there. And it just goes, even with the mask on, it's like, shit, he's still around. The ultimate prey. Right. Then he uses his like little laser beam to try and sharpen those wrist claw things. Like, you haven't got a clue. I know if you go on the fan sites and the backstory of all the weaponry that the Predator has in each successive movie, it's all listed there. I know, but in the film, in John McTiernan's original movie, they didn't fucking know what they were doing. It was just like, oh, it looks good, yeah. And at least it's in Jean-Claude Van Damme in a fucking pink lobster suit. Imagine if we got that. Jean-Claude Van Damme, another one-man army. Another guy that did try to push his range, but really doesn't have a great deal of range. But I still like Van Damme. But Arnie goes beyond all these guys. And I love Chuck Norris, but Chuck Norris literally, no. No. Brick hard, but can't act. Can't, and I still love him. But Arnie, so now Dutch has got to face the Predator. But he's still fucking nervous, and that still comes across when he's on the tree when the Predator first starts coming up. And we've had the little montage of him building his traps and the Predator ripping spinal columns out of Billy and then polishing the gore and brain matter off these skulls, and then his little collection of skulls. And you've got Max there with a big fucking scorched hole in its cranium. all his little trophies. The demon that makes trophies of man. But yeah, so the big mano a Predator battle at the end, which is phenomenal. Arnie on the tree, and it's coming up cloaked, and Arnie begins to be like, it's there, it's right behind, it's coming behind me. And again, you don't know that Arnie's going to win this battle. It's got to keep coming to. In an Arnie film, these things are a given. And even in Predator, look, he's not going to lose, is he? And you know that. But when you're watching it, part of you is still thinking, he can't win this. This is his last stand. He's terrified, which you've never seen him terrified before. You've never seen him run for his life before. And no, he's fighting for his life, and he's fucking losing. The Predator, he might outwit it initially, but when it gets down to actual sort of fisticuffs, he's got no fucking chance whatsoever. And I love how the Predator finally realises, hang on a minute, I can't see this bastard. And again, in the Predator vision, you see the black shape of Arnie clinging to the tree like that, you know. But we can see it because we know it's him. But to the Predator, there's no heat signal there, no heat register, because mud does that apparently. It blocks out the heat. I don't know. It's just part of it, isn't it? And so you've got like spears and the arrows he's firing and all that. And the Predator stands there on the fucking tree, and just because it hasn't got a clue roughly, it knows roughly where it's attacked from because he's throwing a fucking spear at it. And the cannon's just going off all over the place. Fucking shower of sparks everywhere. One of the best 4th of July, New Year's Eve fucking firework displays ever. Amazing. But it does hit the tree that Arnie's on. Arnie fucking tumbles out of it, and it catches sight of that. So as it can see him moving, even though the heat register's not there, but it can see this figure moving. So it's firing at this figure moving through the rocks, and Arnie's wounded, spits out a huge fucking wallop of blood like that. Oh. And you go, oh Jesus, that's got to have hurt that. And they will skirmish again, and he will wound the Predator, and the Predator gets into the little cave, and the blood's dripping down. He's following all this fucking Dayglow blood, which Poncho didn't spot before, you know. Not a thing, not a fucking trace, no blood, no bodies. We hit nothing. But I did find this fucking weird sludge. Do you reckon that is? You didn't see that? It's fucking, even in bright sunlight in the jungle, it's fucking glowing like a supernova. The girl found it. Anyway, so his blood's dripping down, like, and Arnie's like that. And a big close-up of Arnie's face. Let's see if we can do it, like. And he's like kind of nervous. Hang on a minute. Blood's there, and something comes down behind him, and he's like, coming. And it's right behind him anyway. And that's when you see him with the grenade around his neck, the leaf frond pouch. It's this bit actually. And he goes, and he throws it behind him. And the Predator goes, whoa, like that. And Arnie just runs, does a great movement on that tree branch, catches it, swings on it, he snaps it, hits the water, of course, and gets fucking, all his mud comes off. It's great. Little jungle pond water will wash 6 inches of thick sludge off you in a nanosecond. How's that for your beauty fucking therapy session? Looking awesome. And of course, then he will confront the Predator, and it takes his mask off. Ooh, yeah. I mean, in a way, we all love the one-liners, like stick around, you know, and you're one ugly motherfucker, you know. But they are daft at the same time. But they're part of the genre, and they fit completely in this movie. The one-liner I always have a bit of a problem with in this sequence as well. You know, the Predator comes from, it's took its shoulder cannon off. It's revealed its mandibles, and it comes at him like that, and Arnie's like rips a fucking tree branch down. It goes wham, and it just puts his hand up, and it just shatters the branch. And Arnie just looks at what remains of it, and just goes, bad idea. Oh. I don't know about you folks, but when I've faced life and death scenarios with some bigger adversary, and I have, I don't have time for, like, you know, bad idea. You just go, go for the eyes, the groin, the throat, very quick. Use your knees, use your elbows, use that. All your bony bits against their bony bits. Hurts them more. Be very quick and be savage. Rip, gouge. Do all girly fighting. if you're stuck against someone much bigger than you, who's closing you down and you've got nowhere to go, you really haven't got a lot of fucking options. Eyes, throat, mouth, chest, groin, all the fleshy bits, but use your bony bits and fucking hurt them. Anyway, tips to the wise there. But Arnie, bad idea. No fucking shit, man. And then we have the final sort of hand-to-hand thing, which, again, I don't want to be saying bad things about this movie because I think it's fucking perfect, absolutely perfect. But I do wish that the Predator saw things a little bit better, because even without its mask on, like, and it's what it's looking at normally, and you've got this blurred shape of Arnie coming flying at it and trying to put a body blow in or a punch or whatever, and then it just goes whoosh like that and knocks him aside, and you can see him crawling through the leaves and the soil, but it's just a blur, isn't it? You get a few nice sort of montage shots, a bit like Rocky, of Arnie, like that, poof, and then and the blood goes whoosh out of his gob like that, which is great. But he manages, only by luck, to crawl back into one of the earlier traps he'd made, which of course I reckon he completely forgot about. You've had the shit kicked out of you. You've been leaping around fucking jungle trees and rocks and canyons. You've been in rivers and lagoons and all that. You're not exactly going to be fucking firing on all cylinders, are you? Plus you've had your face battered by these fucking big alien hands, big claws, boom! But he manages to crawl into one of the first traps he built actually, and he's got the spikes arranged on one of these like a whoosh, akin to what Conan did in the Battle of the Mounds in Conan the Barbarian, and with that whoosh, spiky thing comes around, gets the guy, but the Predator sees it and he's like, and the leaves come off one of these spikes, and Kevin Peter Hall, again in the costume, puts so much nuance into his character to make him alive that he goes, looks around and looks at Arnie again, looks at that, fuck that, I'm not falling for this, gets up and walks around, look at Arnie's face, because Arnie's going, come on, kill me, I'm here, come on, do it now, and all this kind of stuff, because what are you walking through, because I'm going to get this trap to hit you. And the Predator walks around and Arnie's just like that, just looks at him, and then he jumps down on the other side. This is them fighting, and Arnie getting knocked all over the show. And again, during all that, I defy anyone to think, even watching it now, shit, when you put yourself in that movie, how's he going to survive this? He's not going to survive this. But this is where he's lured him into, accidentally, ironically and rather very luckily, lured the Predator into his death trap. So it comes around the other side and all that, and he sees the little stake he's got there and remembers, oh yeah, I've got that fucking great big tree trunk up there right above his head. Go on, kill me, I'm here, do it now. It's boost. It comes down on his head. Predator just looks up just in time to go, oh, fucking hell. And it is great, and I love the way it's filmed because it's kind of confusing as to what's really happened. Again, they're on a slope or there's an edge there, because that's the initial cliff when Arnie gets swept up and gets mud all over him. He makes his base there in that area. So you've got lots of fallen trees and stuff, and upturned roots, and a huge bank of stuff, and it's on that bank but a bit higher up that the Predator's now lying, fucking done in, coughing up fluorescent blood. And I like that as well. You've had Arnie fucking belching blood out and all that kind of stuff. You've had Blaine spitting tobacco everywhere. Now you get the Predator going, blah, 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 fucking, and it's all this fluorescent stuff's coming out. It's more. And he's there, I've got you. But this thing begins to move again, it's still alive. That's it coming around the other way. Let's listen. As again, this is Silvestri's fabulous music. That piano. Predator like that. Oh! But he ain't dead, of course. And Arnie's knackered. And so you get Arnie and the Rock, and he's there, like, he's about to club it to death, like, and he goes, "What the hell are you?" And the Predator goes, "What the hell are you?" And it's got his wrist nuclear device. And like Arnie's like, "No, do it. Ho, 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 ho. Ha, 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 ha. I don't know how witches do that kind of thing, you know. It's not good for the throat. Whiskey helps that though. So Arnie fucking legs it, doesn't he? Oh, yeah. And this thing's laughing in the background. Boom, 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 boom. And of course, we'll get onto this now. Hang on a minute. Do. And it's like... and the explosion gets bigger and bigger. And Arnie's still running. It just gets bigger and it's a final massive sort of electro-white fuzzy explosion. And Arnie leaps over this fucking tree. And then you get the general, of course. And Anna, they've picked up Anna, who survived. And like they see this mushroom cloud, and they go, "What?" And it's the helicopter pilot, by the way, in that sequence. I know I've said this before, but it's entered my mind again. That's Kevin Peter Hall, not wearing the Predator mask, wearing his normal face, but with a helicopter pilot's helmet on and a pair of sunglasses which have come down. It is Kevin Peter Hall. As the dust clears, Arnie's there. He's completely submerged in ash and smoke and soot and blood now, just like that. Now again, look at Arnie's face at the end. And in a brilliant, brilliant moment, they don't give him a final punchline. You know, what happened? I predatored him. You know, there's nothing like that. Nothing like that at all. You see, we cut to the finale. He's in the back of the helicopter, covered in absolute shit. And they're all looking at him like, you know, Christ, what have you been through? And he can't, certainly, in a realistic way, he's not laughing, "Give me a cigar," you know. "I told you, we are rescue team, not assassins," you know, and all this kind of shit. He's not doing anything like that at all. He's just fucking done in. Absolutely done in. And his eyes, he looks out into the jungle, and Arnie does convey someone that has been through an otherworldly experience and who will never be the same afterwards. You know, I just think it's fucking awesome. Then you get the John McTiernan and co. We've just told a phenomenal action adventure story here. This is Arnie's finest moment. McTiernan's clearly thinking like, I have put my name on the action cinema map forevermore with this. They must have known it. They must have. And then so we're gonna have a little treat now, because if you've enjoyed yourselves, let's remind you who you were watching. So you get all the little montage at the end of all the cast, you know, who are all like pulling cheesy grins. You've got Blaine going, he's chewing tobacco, he goes, and smiles at the camera. The worst one, of course, is Dylan. Oh my Christ almighty. Carl Weathers, someone chucks an MP5 at him, he just goes, why? But in a way, it's beautiful at the same time. It lightens all the tension that you've seen before. The only one who doesn't have his own specialised little shot is Arnie, and it just recaps the scene that if it bleeds, we can kill it, and he turns around, and just before he says, if it bleeds, we can kill it, it's just his face, and that's how it ends, with Arnie's face. Fucking awesome. And there is Arnie. Miniaturised Arnie as Dutch, M203, all the proper gear. I was skitting the way he put the camouflage face paint on in Commando. And they don't fare a million times better in Predator, but they do at least put different tones on, and there are different patterns on their faces. So, you know, I will give them that. It's just a movie, Kilt-Man. It's a movie. Anyway, folks, that's almost an hour now. Well, it'll be an hour by the time I finish yakking. But I hope you enjoyed that, because it was another little return trip to the Mexican jungles for Predator. a timeless classic, and a film that is eternal. It is immortal in the history of action movies. It'll live forevermore. It's a benchmark, a high watermark. For my money, there's nothing better than it. The only other great action movies that I revere and love and adore and watch time and time again, they're not better than it. They're only on a par with it. But Predator. And I saw it day one at the flicks, and I saw it on my own as well. I took the day off work to watch that movie. And back in those days, I went to the Odeon in Liverpool. It's not there anymore. Well, it is. It's a different location. It's a much different cinema now in a different area. But I went to the old Odeon, and I was one of about 3-4 people in there. And you had morning showings. The film opened on a Thursday, had its premiere in London, but in provincial towns, it opened a few days later, and on a Thursday morning at about 10 o'clock. So I took the day off, went to it, sat there, full fatigues on. Like I would have been 87. How old would I be then? 17. I think I was 17. The film was an 18. And oh my God, it blew me away. I so remember that walking out, I was about 10 feet tall. I felt like fucking amazing. I will take anybody. So what did I go and do? I went for a couple of pints, and then I went back to an afternoon showing of Predator again. I fucking love the movie. Predator 2 has its moments, and I do enjoy it a lot. But it's a considerably lesser film than Predator. AVP Requiem, oh Christ, shite. Predators, I actually do enjoy, but with each successive viewing of that, I detest that middle section with Lawrence Fishburne all the more, and I just wish it wasn't there. So you've got a great suspenseful opening, and you've got a reasonably exciting finale, but all that middle section, fucking hell, get out of it. Then The Predator, no. And then we've got the new Predator movie, which I've discussed. It's coming out, it's going straight to streaming, and Predator 5, Prey. Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm gonna rein back the huge excitement and enthusiasm that I'm building in myself, because I don't want to be let down again so badly, like Halloween Kills. Not falling for it again. I can't wait to watch it, and I hope they do well with it. It's an unusual slant on the story, and I do agree with it. I've discussed it before, I have. So again, the soundtrack's now gone back to the beginning, but don't worry, we're not going to start this all over again. We've been through this now. So Predator, folks, I think we'll all agree, fucking awesome action movie. You might disagree about it being Arnie's finest hour. Oh, and before I forget, Arnie acting again. Have you seen the film Maggie, where he plays the father of a child? This is in the aftermath of a zombie apocalypse. It's a great idea, actually. It's a family drama, but based in the aftermath of a zombie apocalypse. They're kind of wrapping things up, but there's still zombies out there, and they're still trying to find ways to deal with people who've got the zombie virus in them. And Arnie's daughter, Maggie, has the virus, and she is going to die. She's only a teenage girl, and she's trying to enjoy what remains of her life. Oh, do you know what? It really does get me. But there's a great Arnie is fabulous in it. It's not a shoot 'em up zombie action carnage fest. It's not. It's a family drama, but with zombies in it. But Arnie goes to visit the neighbour's house, because they've discovered that they were zombies, and he goes there, the Anderson house, and in a really ghastly moment, he discovers how the loved ones were kept locked up in the room, but they've been looking after them before they finally got out and all that. And you see Arnie as this father realising, shit, that's what's in store for me and my daughter. She's going to turn nasty. And Arnie's face, this big, strong but broken man dealing with absolute heartbreak. This is Arnold Schwarzenegger, he does reach new depths there. The film didn't go anywhere. It did get some good critical plaudits, but it's not what people wanted, not what people expected. I knew what it was like going in, and I did enjoy it. I reviewed it a long time ago. I reviewed it when it first came out, and yeah, I gave it a good thumbs up. But you know, it's not brilliant. But for him, if you're a fan of Arnie and to see him stretch his acting wings a little bit, oh, it's well worth looking at, genuinely. And the finale, oh Christ, I won't go into how that film ends, but anyway, it's worth looking at. Arnie fans, watch him in that, and you'll see just how much commitment, heart, and soul that he can and does put into movies, depending on the role. And that was the right role for him at the time. But we still want to see him in King Conan. For God's sake, Arnie, do it. Because if you don't, and we don't want Momoa doing it, if you don't do it, I've got to do it. And I'm a busy man these days. Radio show presenter. Anyway, folks, I have been, always shall be, massively smitten with bloody big blades. Yeah, look at that. That is one meaty bastard, isn't it? It's so glinty. It affects the contrast on the camera. Please, folks, in the meantime, and this ever adventurous jungle exploding in between time, please keep it Celtic, keep it Celtic. I am going to see you all. And I'm perfect for radio because I'm one ugly motherfucker.